I'm Rinku. What is up, everyone? Today's Black Desert Online discussion is going to be on my main class, the Dark Knight. I've wanted to make so many guides of so many different aspects of the Dark Knight ever since I hit level 62, but the problem is that the game has been changing. Something as simple as a skill build video would have needed to be updated over 3 times now. It basically changes every week, so any video I would have made would have already been outdated. So today, I'm going to talk about how Dark Knight fares in PvP before, during, and after the past month of PvP changes. Before the changes, Dark Knight was possibly top tier, with our 5 class counters being Warrior, Valkyrie, Berserker, Striker, and Mystic, with Striker and Mystic being almost impossible to kill, especially if both players fighting had lower gear score. Because Dark Knight is squishy, it's easy for any class to one-combo her. However, at a certain AP threshold, and besides her 5 class counters, it's very easy for her to do the same thing. Dark Knight had 2 ranged CCs that she could use at any time between using her multiple forward guard kiting abilities. After Absolute and Raw Bomb skills came out, it felt easier to one-combo our opponents. This meant less kiting and more pre-awakening action. I really felt like if I CC'd someone at a range, I could dash in and kill them, which is what I thought the DK playstyle was supposed to be. Back then, I really felt a challenge to use my defensive skills correctly, as any mistake could get me instantly killed. However, trying to 1v1 a class counter was pretty much asking for your death. And then came the PvP changes, which brought CC changes first, which also introduced the infinite stiffen. Yes, they officially put in the patch notes that you can infinitely stiffen someone. Like, what the fuck? So, of course, the first thing I do is go on Reddit and look at a Dark Knight infinite stiffening someone in the battle arena, and then I try to copy him and do the same thing myself for like 5 hours on livestream. I didn't make a video on it because 3 days later it was immediately patched, because obviously that's not a healthy mechanic for PvP. So the way CC stands right now is you can have 2 different types of CC, and you can also down smash. I was led to believe a down smash is a 50% chance, but we'll talk more about that later. The second week of PvP changes hit, and they take away our defensive abilities on multiple skills. They take away forward guard from hallucination gap, our counter, flow bombardment, which is the flow for shattering, and trap of Vetter. They also take away super armor from flow spirit blaze, our awakening knockdown, seed of catastrophe, the flow for seed, twilight dash, and spirit hunt. This is a huge change, because a lot of these skills allow us to kite. It is much harder to play defensively because a lot of these skills now leave you wide open, forcing you to engage. Now, in the most recent patch, they took away the stiffness on Unveiled Fate. Not too bad, I'm okay with that, we don't really need it, it's fine, it's a pre-awakening stiffness, no one cares. Next, they took away the bound effect on Shadow Strike. It's kinda huge. This was a ranged Rabam skill that had a bound. You could bound multiple people in a node war. They did take away abilities that affect node war, I understand. We don't need it. I mean, we didn't until this next change. The floating for Seed of Catastrophe is now a stiffness. So here we are today. Is Dark Knight bad right now? I don't think so, but our playstyle keeps changing drastically. The biggest changes have been all the forward guards we lost on our kiting skills, and our 2 ranged CCs have become 1 ranged stiffness. So of course I test how useful Seed of Catastrophe is now that it doesn't even have a super armor and it's only a stiffness, and yeah, when I use it at a range to another Dark Knight with 5 movement speed, I can't even get to him before he stands up and dashes away. Well, actually, we did test by E-buffing and using Twilight Dash, you can actually stiffen him and then knock him down, but yeah, you have to rely on E-buff or Z-buff, or else it's actually not possible. Also, when they were taking out all the forward guards and super armors, they actually gave super armor to E-buff on Dark Knight. Are they trying to say that we need E-buff in order to combo someone, in order to engage them from long range? Or what? The upsides are that most classes also got heavily nerfed, including our 5 class counters. You can actually deal damage to strikers and mystics now. Warrior and Valkyrie no longer have lingering super armor, leaving them wide open in a lot more situations, and Berserker, well honestly, I think Zerker is still really good at the moment, but I'm sure they've had to change up their combos a lot with the CC changes due to them having 4 grabs. But I mean, come on, 4 grabs? Really? Really? We have also seen classes like Ranger becoming the best PvE class from renown score to quickly being nerfed to the ground. We have also seen Valkyrie be given skills like increased movement combo abilities and echo walking, only for it to be taken away for Valkyrie to feel like the pre-awakening of Warrior and Valkyrie where you have to literally walk everywhere. It's honestly sad to see some classes really feel like they're useless, but at this point, anything can change. Even I don't know what to do about combos right now, but most of Dark Knight's combat is reaction-based kiting. For now, I'll show you what I have learned, but keep in mind that there will be more PvP updates to come. After the CC changes, it seems like floatings, knockdowns, and bounds act like a down smash. For example, I'm going to knockdown and knockdown. From my understanding, a down smash is supposed to do that exact animation. Once they're knocked on the ground, you activate a down smash, and the character on the ground kinda jumps off the ground and gets knocked down again, keeping them on the ground longer. However, when you use the other 3 abilities that I mentioned, like a knockdown, float, or bound, sometimes, specifically at a certain time during their animation, it acts like a down smash, pushing them back on the ground for even longer. First I showed you a knockdown, then I showed you a bound, and this is what a float looks like while they're already on the ground. It seriously just resembles a down smash. Also, it should be noted that Dark Knight only actually has one real down smash, that being Legacy. Another reason why this is so important is because Shadow Strike, which used to have a bound for PvP, but now it's PvE only, and Seed of Catastrophe, which used to have a floating, but now is only a stiffness, both activated this pseudo down smash, and this also pseudo down smashed multiple people if they were already on the ground. And this is huge in Node Wars. So when they were making changes that affected Node Wars heavily, these might have been the intention, to stop them from down smashing multiple people on the ground in Node War. However, for 1v1, this honestly destroyed us. Because of how easy it is for your opponent to get out of a stiffness, it's actually impossible for certain matchups without E-buffing or Z-buffing to follow up on. Even just that, getting the stiffness of Spirit Hunt can be literally impossible because your opponent will have already gotten away. For raw bomb skills, the level 57 options is and has always been useless. However, the 56 options, Shadow Strike used to be useful. It had a ranged bound effect. However, the only reason you'd want to use Shadow Strike right now is if you want to pretend that you're a witch and wizard and cast spells from far away, never engaging your opponent. So, I decided to try the other raw bomb skill, Wrath of Vetter. Wrath of Vetter is a super armor, a bound, and a down attack. And honestly, it's pretty fast. You may have noticed when I used Wheel of Fortune after he's on the ground to activate the pseudo down smash that I actually paused in between skills. That is because if I try the same thing without the pause, it doesn't seem to activate. I specifically wait for when he's about to stand up to try and use these pseudo down smashes, and they seem to work almost every time on the training dummy. Keep in mind, real players stand up much quicker and their timings may vary. Before these changes, I would try to CC my opponent any way possible, knock them down most likely with Wheel of Fortune, and then use Lunacy of Vetter for the down attack. After absolute skills, using Wheel of Fortune to knock down your enemy, and Lunacy of Vetter to kill them after you've successfully kited them, dealt damage, and CC'd them, seemed to be a staple of almost every DK I met. After these changes, it should be possible to go for a knockdown, into a down smash, to wait and then go for a floating, to wait and then go for another knockdown, to then wait and go for a bound. And he's still on the ground. I then began to question how many down smashes and pseudo down smashes can you do in a single combo. However, the problem is the combo I just did on the training dummy, after hours of trying, I was not able to do on a single real person. So the idea that you can do this in a real scenario becomes slim to none unless you can do something I haven't been able to. The problem is not only that some of these abilities require certain timings for them to activate, but also that even when you try every timing possible, sometimes they just never activate. For example, the down smash itself seems to only work when you use it right after they get knocked down, whereas these pseudo down smashes only work when they're about to stand up. For example, I was practicing the combo I just showed you on another Dark Knight, and we couldn't even get the first down smash to activate. No matter how fast or slow we used it, even taking off resistance gear, the down smash, Legacy, just never activated. Okay, I would be lying if I said it never activated, but I swear it only activated 1 out of 10 times attempted, which, if you're trying to PvP with someone, you can't really rely on that. In fact, these pseudo down smashes seem to activate way more often than the actual down smash we have. For example, if I knock down and spam 2 pseudo down smashes, one of them is usually bound to activate because in PvP, your opponent will usually stand up much faster than the dummy. So if the first one doesn't catch them, the second one might, and if you have a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one, eventually something will catch on. I'm not sure if you can actually depend on visual feedback to activate these pseudo down smashes because desync may misdisplay your opponent. Just keep in mind, any of the strategy that I use today as a Dark Knight could change in only a few days. If you can think of a Dark Knight related video that won't be outdated every patch, then let me know down in the comments and I'll try my best to create something. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you want early access to videos like this one, consider subscribing on Patreon. Sometimes I find random people to stand next to for a video like today, but sometimes I also ask my subs. I also want to say thanks to both my Patreon and my YouTube subscribers, as your support is what allows me and drives me to make more content every day. Thank you, I love you, and of course, I will see you next time.